Okay. Esophageal disease. And the first topic from the esophageal disease is the GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. What is this gastroesophageal reflux disease? The typical presentation of the patient is patient would present with the upper GI burning. There would be pain, retrosternal pain. There would be reflux of the acid. There would be bad taste or the metal-like taste in the mouth. And the patient, most likely the risk factors for the GERD is, yes, what are the risk factors for the GERD? Lifestyle, late time eating, early bedtime, immediately after having the meal, obesity. Okay. What else? Yes, what are the risk factors? Other risk factors for the
Smoking.
Yes, exactly.
Smoking, ma'am.
Yes, smoking, anxiety, depression.
Smoking, alcohol habit,
Yes, habits, decreased physical activity, and in the
activity.
older age.
Yes.
These are the risk factors for the esophageal disease. And the presentation, you have already told that what are the typical symptoms? What are the typical symptoms? Reflux of the acid, retrosternal burning, retrosternal chest pain, and sometimes the patient complain, if this is a severe one, there would be esophagitis, and due to that esophagitis, patient would be having difficulty in the swallowing, called dysphagia. Okay. So this is the first. And how do you diagnose the GERD? Then we would jump to this question. How would you diagnose the GERD? Barium study. Initially, what would you do? The barium study. The common procedure we use to
Barium study.
Yes. And what is the gold standard?
If there is bleeding, hemoglobin will decrease. Melena is patient also complained about melena.
No. Actually, in the GERD, initially when somebody comes to you, we go with this barium study. And the next, the gold standard investigation would be upper GI endoscopy.
Endoscopy.
GI endoscopy. Okay. Now, our patient after the endoscopy found tumor in the stomach, marked lymphoma, and he is H. pylori positive. He is what? H. pylori positive. What would you do? We know that the H. pylori disease patient would be having peptic ulcer, gastric ulcer, duodenal ulcer due to the H. pylori infection. And whenever you see in your question that patient is H. pylori positive, patient is having lymphoma, patient is having peptic ulcer, the gold standard management would be eradication therapy through the antibiotic. It would be triple or quadruple regime. Triple 3 antibiotics and the quadruple in 3 antibiotics plus along with the bismuth sulfate. Okay. This is the typical eradication therapy for the H. pylori patient. How would you diagnose the H. pylori? The investigation of the choice is either the urea breath test or the stool antigen test, not the serum antigen. Again, repeating, urea breath test is the gold standard to diagnose the H. pylori, and the other test is the stool antigen test. Now, what would you do? For sure, we would go with the antibiotics because H. pylori is a bacteria. So we need the antibacterial therapy. A smoker has a chronic GERD, upper scope was done and show the high grade dysplasia. High grade dysplasia. As we have discussed that the gold standard investigation for the GERD would be upper GI endoscopy, and in which the patient, doctor or the clinician would take the sample for the biopsy. If this is the mild dysplasia, you would manage it conservatively. Again, repeating, if there is a mild dysplasia, you would only manage it with the PPIs for the GERD. But if there is a high grade dysplasia, it is indicating the patient is having malignancy. So the management would be resection, surgical resection, endoscopic resection, whatever, but resection is mandatory. So you would refer the patient for the possible esophagectomy where the dysplasia is present. And now there you could easily see the smoking is a major risk factor for the GERD as well as the squamous cell carcinoma of esophagus. With the heavy smoker, and this is again, if you, I can zoom. This is the H. pylori eradication therapy. First line therapies, triple therapy, including 3 antibiotics plus PPI, and the quadruple therapy, 3 antibiotics plus the PPI and the bismuth sulfate. Okay. How would you confirm the eradication therapy? H. pylori, urea breath test, and the stool for antigen. And the commonest question is, once you have shifted the patient on the eradication therapy, and now patient asks you, how would you confirm that eradication has been done or not? Again, the urea breath test or the stool antigen test would be repeated, but after 4 weeks of completion of therapy. After 4 weeks of the completion of therapy. Patient with the heavy smoker with the symptoms of the GERD, upper endoscopic examination shows squamous cell carcinoma with a high grade dysplasia. Again, it's showing the malignancy management would be surgical resection. So endoscopic mucosal resection, that is esophagectomy. A 58-year-old male came with the sign symptoms of the peptic ulcer with the weight loss. Now look at the age. Age is 58, which is the high old age. Peptic ulcer with the weight loss. So it is giving you a clue the patient is having something wrong. It's not the simple peptic ulcer. The patient is having weight loss. What would you do? We would go immediately with the endoscopy, upper GI endoscopy. If somebody with the peptic ulcer age is more than 50 and there is a history of weight loss or the blood loss like hematemesis or the stool, blood in the stool, or patient is having weight loss, you would go with the endoscopy just to rule out the malignancy. Adult patient came to emergency with the substernal pain for 1 hour, not radiating to other tissues. Adult patient came to emergency, substernal pain for just 1 hour, but it is not radiating. With the previous attacks 2 weeks ago, patient had 2 previous attacks, last for seconds only. What would you think it is? It is a GERD, it is a MI or the pericarditis. Okay. In the MI, patient would be having chest pain, but it would not subside on its own. Number one. Pain would be associated with like profuse sweating. There would be chest tightness like the symptom. They would probably mention the comorbid disease like diabetes or hypertension. They would tell you that maybe the pain is radiating to jaw and the shoulder. So it would give you a clue that it is a chest pain regarding heart issue. Pericarditis, we know that there would be chest pain that would be associated with the activity, with the posture. And this is just a substernal pain, which is not radiating and lasting for seconds only. And already patient had 2 previous attacks. So it would be going in the favor of a GERD. Patient was having GERD sign symptoms and on the PPI 40 mg, maximum dose is the 40 mg. And his symptoms controlled. Symptoms are controlled, they mentioned. He stopped the medication 4 months ago and the symptoms back again. What would you do now? Patient was already on the PPI 40 mg, but he stopped taking medication and the symptom reversed. What would you do? We would resume the same dosage on which the symptoms were well controlled. A patient with the GERD being treated, what is the indicator of the good therapy? Good therapy, clinical symptoms. If the patient's symptoms are improving, it is giving you a clue that prognosis is good and patient's compliance is good and patient is responding to the therapy. With the persistent symptoms of the GERD, despite the treatment with the PPI, what would be the management? Now, patient is having persistent symptom of GERD and already on the PPI. What would you do? Would you do, first of all, they would definitely mention that what is the dose of the PPI. If the patient was on the 20 mg or the 40 mg, you would increase the dose twice a day. 40 would be 80 mg. Okay. So first you would increase the dose of the PPI. If still not responding, then you would see the risk factors. We would go with the lifestyle modification. Dark stool with the medication of the GERD. What is likely the cause? GERD could be due to the H. pylori. Patient would be having the bismuth sulfate. So the bismuth sulfate is responsible for the dark color stool. Patient diagnosed with the GERD taking 20 mg but not improving. What would you do? You would increase the dose 40 mg. Okay. Patient diagnosed with the GERD taking 40 mg but not improve. Now, patient is already, if taking 40 mg twice a day, maximum 80 mg he's taking, still not responding to the therapy, then you would have to investigate other things. 24-hour pH monitoring or endoscopy. Morbidity, GERD with the obese. Obesity is a risk factor for the GERD and patient is morbidity. So BMI would be more than 30 now. What would you do? Morbidly obese patient having the GERD-like symptom, not responding to the therapy, we need the surgical intervention. We know that the morbidly obese patient would not respond to lifestyle modification. These patients require surgical intervention like Roux-en-Y gastric bypass surgery or bariatric surgeries. There are different names. Patient diagnosed with the GERD taking omeprazole 20 mg, not improving. What to do? We would first increase the dose because this is the minimum dose. You would first increase the dose 40 mg twice, and then we would think about the other thing. GERD, the main risk factor is esophageal carcinoma. Okay, patient is having GERD-like symptoms and the esophageal carcinoma is in the mind. What is the risk factor? Barrett esophagus, in which there is a high-grade dysplasia or metaplasia. So this is the risk factor for the esophageal carcinoma. By the way, what is Barrett esophagus? What is Barrett esophagus?
The lining of the esophagus is changed, ma'am.
Yes. The problem is with the mucosal lining of the esophagus. What happens that lining? Due to the reflux, the acid could damage that mucosal lining.
The cells will change the
Yes.
pathology of the cells will change, ma'am.
Hmm.
Physiologically, cells will change into pathologically.
Basically, basically the reflux of the acid would damage the mucosal cells in the esophagus. So it would change the normal physiological lining of the esophagus. It is labeled as initially metaplasia and then not on the treatment and not responding to the treatment, patient would have the dysplasia. So it would be a risk factor for the esophageal carcinoma. A case of 70-year-old man, how are heavy smoker. However, he is a heavy smoker, age is 70. And he came with the melena and abdominal pain plus weight loss. So these are all the constitutional symptoms of the malignancy. Melena, abdominal pain, weight loss, and age is 70. Labs are unstable. What would you suspect? We would suspect the squamous cell carcinoma of esophagus. Red flag age. These actually giving you a clue. If you see that age is more than 50, smoking they have mentioned in the scenario, and the weight loss. Think about the malignancy, esophageal carcinoma. Elderly patient with the epigastric discomfort, fullness, weight loss. Elderly patient, weight loss, decreased appetite, again constitutional symptom. What is the appropriate investigation? Upper GI endoscopy to rule out the cancer. Elderly with the GERD not responding to PPI, what is the next step? GERD not responding to PPI, they would definitely mention that they are not responding to PPI 40 mg twice, maximum dose. Then your next answer would be 24-hour pH monitoring. You actually take the gastric secretion after the 24 hours. That is the pH monitoring. Barrett esophagus with the low grade dysplasia. Now only the low grade or a mild dysplasia. So we don't think about the surgical intervention, conservative management. How the conservative management? Patient would be on the PPI, and then after 6 to 12 months, we would repeat the upper GI endoscopy. Low grade dysplasia, endoscopic therapy, that is 6 to 12 months, and then you would rescope or upper GI endoscopy would be repeated. If high grade dysplasia, for sure, endoscopic ablation would be required. This is the management of Barrett esophagus. You could easily see in this box. Intestinal metaplasia. If there is just a metaplasia, the change in the lining, the surveillance would be 2 to 3 years. But if there is a low grade dysplasia, what would you do? Surveillance would be of the 6 to 12 months. 6 to 12 months, you would repeat the upper GI endoscopy after 6 or 12 months. And although the patient would be on the PPI, here in the case, only you would repeat the endoscopy after every 2 to 3 years. But if there is a high grade dysplasia, after 3 months, you would rescope or endoscope would be repeated, and then esophagectomy. Adenocarcinoma. Adenocarcinoma, it is already metastasized to the supraclavicular and the other lymph nodes. So you would go with the esophagectomy, and if on the TPN, the palliative therapy would be indicated. Yes. Am I clear till now? Any query, any question in your mind?
Ma'am, one doubt.
Sorry?
Ma'am, one doubt, ma'am. Intestinal metaplasia, the surveillance will be 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
So we have to recheck once in 2 to 3 years. That is
Yes.
the mild.
Yes. Because it is not dysplasia, it is just a metaplasia.
Metaplasia. Okay.
Yes.
So if it is low grade dysplasia, then her 6
Every
to 12
6
months may
yes.
we have to do the rescope.
Yeah, and patient would be on the PPI.
Okay, ma'am. In high grade dysplasia may we have to do the esophagectomy, and then three months once we have to do the scopy.
Yes, yes, yes. And if adenocarcinoma, first the surgical resection, and then after resection, patient would be on the TPN, palliative therapy.
Okay, ma'am.
Patient had the knee pain, no trauma, no fever, and also have the epigastric pain. So they are giving you the clue. If patient is not having the knee pain, he or she must be taking the painkiller, and the complaint is the epigastric pain. So what would be the answer? Would you give the
NSAID inside induced
yes, this is
peptic
NSAID
ulcer.
induced. Yes, this is NSAID induced epigastritis or peptic ulcer. So we cannot give patient NSAID who is already having epigastric pain. How would you manage that pain? Through the paracetamol. You would manage her or his pain of the knee joint pain through the paracetamol. Patient complaining of epigastric pain, better with the vomiting, worse with the eating. He is taking medication for his joint pain. What is your diagnosis? Epigastric pain, better with the vomiting. So it is what? Duodenal or peptic ulcer? Gastric ulcer or the duodenal ulcer?
Gastric ulcer. Gastric.
Peptic ulcer, ma'am.
Gastric ulcer.
With the eating, yes, that is gastric ulcer. He is taking
Gastric ulcer.
medication for the joint pain. What would be your diagnosis? It is a gastritis. NSAID, taking medication for the joint. So this is NSAID induced gastritis, peptic disease, okay? And if it is perforation, then they would definitely mention would be sudden severe abdominal or epigastric pain. There would be tense, tender abdominal pain. profuse vomiting. So you would think about the perforation. A patient with a history of the peptic ulcer and the positive urea breath test, you started and finished the treatment course. When you can re-examine the urea breath test? 4 weeks after completion of the therapy. I have mentioned earlier, 4 weeks after completion of eradication therapy, then you would repeat urea breath test. Urea breath test, finish course 4 weeks. Diabetic and hypertensive patient, non-case, presents with the severe epigastric pain that is radiating to back for 6 hours. X-ray show gas under diaphragm. On the left side, there is a air under diaphragm. What is your diagnosis? Whenever you see there is a air under diaphragm, either in the scenario which is mentioned, or if there is an image which is showing there is a air under diaphragm, your diagnosis would be sharp and clear that there is a perforation of either duodenal or the peptic ulcer. Peptic ulcer patient with vomiting, examination show succession splash while shaking the abdomen. We used to perform this maneuver when somebody is having ascites. Succession splash, you put your hand on the other side of the abdomen, and on one side you tap, there would be splash. You would shake the abdomen. What acid-base disorder he would be having? Now, the clue one is peptic ulcer, patient is vomiting. In the vomiting, we know that patient is having hypokalemia, and due to hypokalemia, there would be metabolic alkalosis. Your answer would be metabolic alkalosis. Succession splash, also known as the gastric splash, is a slowish sound heard through the stethoscope during sudden movement of the patient on the abdominal auscultation. It reflects the presence of the gas and the fluid in the obstructed organ and in the gastric outlet obstruction. Now they have clearly explained and defined what is succession splashes. Urine finding in the metabolic alkalosis. We know that in the metabolic alkalosis, patient would be having massive secretion and excretion of hydrogen ion, hypokalemia. So when somebody is having massive secretion and excretion of hydrogen ion in the urine, it would be acid urine, acidic urine. So your answer would be acid urea, and patient would be having hypokalemia in the serum, but they are asking you urine finding. So acid urea would be answer. A patient with the severe vomiting, ECG showing flattened T wave, what would you expect in the urine? Now, we know that the flattened T wave would be due to hypokalemia. When somebody is having hyperkalemia, there would be tall tented T wave. But if the patient is having hypokalemia, there would be flattened T wave or U wave. Hypokalemia, metabolic alkalosis. Urine would be acidic. So again, answer would be acid urea. Long case, flattened T wave on ECG. What would you find in the urine? Again, acid urea.
Ma'am, 1 second. What is that succession splash? Can you explain that once again, ma'am?
Yes.
Succession splash.
When somebody is having ascites or somebody is having obstruction, like for example, gastric pyloric, there is a pyloric stenosis, patient is having gastric outlet obstruction or other kind of obstruction. What happens is that there is a typical sound. Which kind of sound? Which you heard through the stethoscope. What would you do? You move the belly in which you are suspecting there is a fluid accumulation or the gas collection. You move the patient abdomen and then you auscultate. Then there would be a sound. That is, you must have heard in your house job, we used to perform this succession splash. And then in the typical, there is the sound slush, knowing as they have mentioned, the name is the sloshing sound. But the typical is like bubbling type of the sound. You could easily pick that there is a collection of the fluid. Yes. Fatima, got it?
Okay, ma'am.
or not?
Yes, ma'am. Got it. Got it.
Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the next question is, patient with the chronic use of NSAID for the osteoarthritis, patient with the sudden severe. Now look at the words. They have given you the history. The patient took NSAIDs for osteoarthritis. Now these are the highlighted words. Sudden severe abdominal pain, guarding and tenderness. What is the appropriate next step? Immediately go with the erect chest x-ray just to look for air under diaphragm to rule out the perforation. Because this is a surgical emergency, we need to open the patient immediately. Otherwise, we would lose the patient. Patient with 2-week history of watery diarrhea, vitals are stable. 2-week history of watery diarrhea, vitally patient is stable. What is expected acid-base abnormality? Yes, if somebody is stable, then it would be compensated. If patient is unstable, then obviously uncompensated. Stable patient, we know that in the vomiting, metabolic alkalosis, diarrhea, metabolic acidosis. So your best answer would be compensated metabolic acidosis since the patient is stable. So compensated. Patient with the sorry. Yes, sorry. Patient with this US and have the diarrhea. Okay, patient is with the gastroenteritis and having the diarrhea. What electrolyte disturbance or acid-base disturbance you would find? Again, the metabolic acidosis. Burning chest pain for 6 months, which is increasing at night. Again, we know that at night when there is a reflux, which is more in the supine position. Unpleasant taste in the mouth or the metal-like taste when lifting heavy object. So this is a typical presentation of GERD. GERD is associated with the esophagitis. Initially through the barium study, then upper GI endoscopy. An adult patient, known case of the severe peptic ulcer disease, presents with a recurrent vomiting. Peptic ulcer, recurrent vomiting. Imaging shows a severely narrowed pylorus. There is a pyloric stenosis with the ulceration at many points. What would you most likely find in this patient? Patient who is having recurrent vomiting would be having hypokalemia. What would be is having hypokalemia? Patient had 2-week history of excessive vomiting. After investigation, he has chronic peptic ulcer disease. Leads to severe narrowing of the pylorus. So what would you will find in the labs? Okay, if somebody is having the peptic ulcer disease, in the labs, we would be looking for hypokalemia. Why? Because patient is having excessive vomiting. When somebody is vomiting, electrolyte disturbance would be hypokalemia. Acid-base disturbance would be metabolic alkalosis. Which food considered low potassium diet? Berries. We know that the bananas, avocado, and the strawberry are rich in potassium. Berries are low in the potassium. These are the food which are high in potassium. Strawberry, again, please. Why they have mentioned in the advanced question, they would be asking regarding the CKD or the dialysis patient or somebody who is having hyperkalemia, that which food content would be contraindicated. Banana would be contraindicated, avocado and the strawberry. And look at these. These are the apple, grape, pineapple, berries, beans, greens, and the corns. They are low in potassium. Malt lymphoma, maltoma, which is due to the H. pylori. This is a growth which happens after the pylori infection in the stomach. So you would again treat it with the H. pylori eradication therapy. Confirmed eradication of the H. pylori. 4 weeks after completion of the therapy, you would repeat urea breath test or the stool antigen test. How to follow the patient after the eradication therapy of H. pylori? 4 weeks again completion, urea breath test would be repeated. Male asymptomatic, they did the endoscopy and found multiple ulcer. After biopsy, it was found H. pylori positive and the mild lymphoma. Eradication therapy would be the management. Patient had H. pylori and treated for the 10 days with the PPI, clarithromycin and azithromycin. Now having the same symptom, what to do next? We would do what? Patient is already taking PPI, clarithromycin and azithromycin, but symptoms are the same. What would you do? You would add, yes, we have discussed clarithromycin, azithro and the flagyl. You would add the metronidazole along with the bismuth sulfate. Metronidazole along with the bismuth sulfate. Now this is the picture of H. pylori eradication. Triple therapy, clarithromycin, amoxicillin and the PPI, okay? Or clarithromycin, metronidazole or the PPI. And the quadrep, you would add the third antibiotic, metronidazole, tetracycline, bismuth plus the PPI. Patient develops the black terry stool after H. pylori treatment. Which drug is responsible? Bismuth sulfate. Patient is known to have the chronic gastric ulcer at the pylorus, presented with the vomiting and abdominal pain. Upper GI endoscopy showing the narrowing at the pylorus due to the chronic ulcer. Which abnormality you would see? Patient is vomiting, again hypokalemia. Metabolic alkalosis due to the acid-base disturbance. Women have the epigastric pain, shortness of breath for many years. Okay, epigastric pain and the shortness of breath. Patients reveal that patient's pain is relieved by vomiting. How would you manage or how would you investigate that case? Upper GI endoscopy. What are you suspecting? Yes, what are you suspecting? If somebody is having epigastric pain, which is relieved by vomiting,
Peptic ulcer.
peptic ulcer.
Peptic ulcer
Yes.
with carcinoma.
Yes. So you would go with the endoscopy just to confirm your diagnosis. Patient of her
Ma'am,
father-
what is the initial diagnosis method for peptic ulcer, ma'am?
sorry,
Directly we have to do the endoscopy for initial diagnostic method. Peptic
initial
ulcer mein.
initial diagnostic. If somebody is having the GERD-like symptoms and you are seeing the patient is not responding, the symptoms are there. So initial and the gold standard would be upper GI endoscopy, because there is no other modality which shows you the peptic ulcer or the duodenal ulcer. No ultrasound, no other blood scanning. Patient, her father has the gastric ulcer and the urea breath test done for her, which shows the positive. Diagnosis H. pylori. Patient after endoscopy found the malt or the tumor in the stomach, H. pylori positive. Management, H. pylori eradication therapy. A child with abdominal pain, urea breath test positive, given the triple therapy. How to improve? Improvement would be checked 4 weeks after completion of the therapy through the urea breath test. But if the clinically you would monitor, it would be the patient's symptom. Clinically, if the patient's symptoms are improving, then it would give you a clue. And for the confirmation, urea breath test would be repeated. A patient has the H. pylori, has cancer, that is maltoma. What would you do? H. pylori eradication.